I want to talk about 7 books that you can read, books that I think the average English learner should be able to understand fairly well, but books that are in audio form rather than physical books. I want to give you some audiobooks, all of which I have read, which I think are at a level doable for most of you. Doable. Maybe a little challenging here and there, but doable. Nothing too complicated. The language is not too hard. And the books that I'm recommending have pretty clear narrators. The person who's doing the voiceover for the book is pretty clear. A nice voice, in other words. So, the criteria. That means why I'm recommending these. Why am I choosing these? Number 1, a good listening experience. Audiobooks are listening. A good listening experience. Clear. Easy to understand. Not a strong accent. Okay, that's the first. 2, the language is not very complex or too difficult, or there isn't too much difficult language, for example, on every page. Maybe once in a while it gets a little difficult, but not on every single page. 3, it's actually a good book. It's an interesting book. You can get something from it in your life. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about 7 of the best audiobooks for English learners. And this is just, of course, I shouldn't even have to say this. It's my opinion. It's your opinion? Yes, of course it's my opinion. Whose else opinion would it be? There is no formal, serious, 100% objective list of books. This is what I think would be good. So check these out. Now, I should say that I read audiobooks on Audible. I actually don't have an affiliate link for Audible. Maybe I should get one. I'm an unofficial spokesperson for Audible. They haven't paid me anything to say this, but I think Audible is a really great way to listen to audiobooks, and their library is huge. They have a huge library. And so I would recommend them. I do a monthly membership. There are other services out there which are, I guess, good as well, but I'm an Audible fan. Okay, so let's go through these one by one. I'm going to introduce these 7. I'm going to say why they might be worth listening to, and you can decide for yourself if they are the right choice for you. Okay? Number 1, Sherlock Holmes. Now, this is a specific Sherlock Holmes, and I'm putting the covers up here so that you can see which version I'm talking about. Notice the name underneath Sherlock Holmes. It's Stephen Fry. Now, Stephen Fry is a quite famous British person who has a very interesting, soft, gentle, I think very pleasing voice. He's been in many TV shows. There's a TV show he hosted called QI, which is quite funny. I would recommend that. Anyway, he reads the entire Sherlock Holmes series, and he does such a good job. It's amazing. It's incredible. So I would really recommend this one. Now, I should say that the English that you're reading is not modern English. They are speaking in a sort of classical style of English. It's a bit more formal. It's a bit outdated. But by reading these, you're still gaining knowledge of English and how people communicate and getting a feeling for it and improving your listening. The reason I said it's 2 birds with 1 stone is that you can read a book and learn English, improve your English, but also improve your listening, your ability to listen, right? That's a really important part because a lot of people are good at reading and not good at listening. And that's fine if that's okay with you, but a lot of people struggle with that, and so this would be a good start. Now, if you find the British accent difficult, maybe that's because you need to practice it more. I don't know, but it's great. I listened to the whole thing. I may listen to it again eventually because it's really that good. It's amazing. Next one. Never Split the Difference. Now, this is a nonfiction book, and you'll notice that the rest of the books that I talk about are nonfiction. So why am I talking about mostly nonfiction? The reason I recommend mostly nonfiction is that actually nonfiction books are easier to read. The problem with many novels is that they use language of description, and they use language of color, and that can make it actually harder. So reading novels is more difficult than reading nonfiction. Nonfiction is written at usually an 8th grade reading level. This one is about how to negotiate. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm not a business person. Why would I need to negotiate? This is a really insightful book, not only about negotiating in formal situations, but how to deal with other people and make it so that when you're dealing with them, you get the most out of it, but not in a way that uses them, not in a way that puts them on a lower level. Everybody comes out of the situation in a positive way. It's a really great book. So this guy, Chris Voss, he is an FBI negotiator for many years and teaches his secrets for negotiation. It's quite interesting, and I would say a very insightful book. It's called Never Split the Difference. Negotiating as if your life depended on it. Never split the difference means that you never give up. So the common idea is, oh yeah, well, you should just, if you want to come to an agreement, you just compromise. You meet in the middle. Chris Voss would say, no, you don't. You don't give up. You get what you want. It's pretty cool. It's a really good book. I recommend it. Next one, Just So by Alan Watts. Now this is a weird one. So I would recommend, before you check out this one, it's not really a book. It's Alan Watts talking about topics. But listening to Alan Watts talk, I find to be, it's one of my favorite things to do. It's so relaxing. He speaks so well. He's so intelligent, but he explains things in such a simple and easy to understand way. He's usually talking about Eastern religion, like Hinduism and Buddhism, but also about life and how to be happy and psychology and philosophy, but not in such a way that it's really hard to understand what he's saying. Now, to sort of see if it's the right level for you, I would first recommend going onto YouTube and searching Alan Watts and listening to a couple of videos. And if you find that you can understand him pretty well, then you could maybe pick up one of these on Audible. Actually, the lectures on YouTube and the ones that are on Audible are the same, but they're compiled together under different themes. So I personally am glad I picked up the Audible versions, because it's quite a few hours, maybe 16 hours of listening, and it's packaged in a way that I like. So I think it's worth it, but you could just listen to him on YouTube. He's a great, I think, a great speaker and a communicator, and if you're going to learn from somebody, that would be the person to learn from. He's in my opinion, the best English speaker who ever lived that I'm aware of. Seriously, the best in the world. I did a video about the best English speakers, and he was at the top of my list. He's just a great communicator. Okay, the next one is The Other Side of History. Now this one is on Audible, but this one is actually a course. So what does that mean? Well, it's not a book. It's not someone reading something. It's someone giving a talk about something. And this is through something called the Great Courses. Now, the Great Courses is a great company. They produce courses from top university professors about specific topics, and they have thousands of courses on many interesting topics. Now, I really like this one because it's very easy to understand, and if you're even a little bit interested in history, it's a great perspective on all of human history, from the very earliest to modern history. It's really interesting. And the cool thing about it is it's not the normal type of history where it's kings and queens and powerful people. It's about common people. It's about normal people in history, how everyday people lived, how everyday people ate, what they ate, the kind of clothes they wore. And it's very accessible. That means it's not hard to understand. It's pretty straightforward. It's a really, really good one. I've listened to this course all the way through, I think 2 or 3 times, and have learned a lot from it. So definitely check that one out. Again, it's not a book. It's a lecture, sort of like the Alan Watts one. It's a talk. But because of that, that makes it, I think, even easier to listen to and even easier to understand, because it's someone who's just speaking as they speak, like I'm talking now, right? When someone is writing, they might say things in a way which is a little more carefully crafted, right? And so when they're just talking, they're a bit more organic, a bit more natural, and that might make it actually easier for you to understand. Another one, which I read recently, which is an awesome nonfiction book. It's about advertising. And again, you might be thinking, I don't care about advertising. What do I need to know about advertising? I agree. I don't really need to know that much about advertising as well, but it's just very insightful. So it's called Alchemy by Rory Sutherland, another British guy. So you can go on to TED or YouTube and search Rory Sutherland TED Talk. He has several really, really good TED Talks. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite TED speaker. And it's just an insightful book. It makes you realize things that you hadn't realized before. When I was going through it, I would usually listen to it as I was on a walk. I often listen as I walk. I find it a good way to help me focus. I might walk and listen to something and then just sort of pay attention to what's around me and try to remember what this book is about. So I just remember as I was listening to this one, many things kind of unlocking, like locks being unlocked. Oh, I never thought about that before. Oh, that's a new idea. Oh, that's something I've never considered. He just has this very fresh perspective, and it's a really, really valuable one. So even though, yes, it is kind of about his insights on marketing, he was in advertising for many, many years, it is more than that. He takes those ideas and puts them on a slightly broader level, things that you can use in your life to look at things in a new way. So definitely check that one out. That one's pretty good. Okay, Fingerprints of the Gods. This might be one of the, if not the best, audiobook experiences I've had. It's got to be at least in the top 5. It's just so well done. It's so well written. The story is so interesting, and the topic is so interesting, and the author reads it so well that you just can't stop. It has been, I think, one of the most addicting that I've listened to. In other words, sometimes I'll just put one down and I don't need to listen to it right now. This one, I couldn't stop listening to it. It's also nonfiction. Now, for this one, there are some complicated words. There are a lot of place names that might be a little difficult, like Göbekli Tepe. So yes, some strange names that you might not have heard before. But once you kind of learn the place names, it's fairly easy to understand. This is a book about the idea that there were advanced humans, an advanced civilization before the floods that happened whenever they happened, maybe 11,000 years ago, something like that. There was a civilization that happened before that, and I'm not saying this is true, I don't know, but it's a really interesting explanation of that, and it's a great read. So I would recommend that one, and he reads it so well. He has such a nice voice, Graham Hancock. Again, if you want to listen to these people's voices first, you can just search them on YouTube and see if you can understand them. Graham Hancock has done a couple of Joe Rogan Experience podcasts. Rory Sutherland is on YouTube. Alan Watts is on YouTube. Most of these people are already up there. So if you want to listen to them, you can also sample the books before you download them as well. Last one. This one I choose not only for the experience, but especially for the lessons. There's a well-known investor. His name is Ray Dalio, and he wrote a book called Principles about all of the things, the insights from his life in the investing finance world. Again, it's not just about finance and investing. You can gain some insights, but really it's about how you work. It's about how you interact with people. It's about how you handle everyday situations. And he takes these ideas for life and for work and applies them in a way that you can really pick up. I found when I was going through it, it's not like, that's an interesting rule, but I don't know how I can use that in my life. No, I really found that it was written in a way so that I could take it, even though he's talking about finance and his life in investing, I could pick up the main insight and put it in my own life. That's what I found going through that. So check that one out as well. The only weird thing about that one is that it's read by two different people. He's quite old. He's in his 70s, so maybe he just got tired. I don't know. But some of the sections are read by another guy. And the other guy just suddenly appears and is reading. Then it goes back to Ray. And so it's a little weird. I wish Ray had read the whole thing by himself. I don't know why. If it's the book that represents your whole life's work, I would think that you would want to read all of that by yourself, right? But whatever. Anyway, there's this weird guy who reads some of it, but it's still very good and very interesting. So those are the 7 books that I would recommend that you listen to as audiobooks. If you are learning English, if you're at a intermediate level, I think you could handle any of these books. It would be a good starting place. If you pick up any of these and you enjoy them or you don't, let me know in the comments. I would like to hear from you on this. If you have any other suggestions on books that you've listened to or other resources that English learners can listen to so that they can feed 2 birds with 1 scone, let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like the video, and don't forget to check out my full courses in the links in the description.